G'day there, Hugh here from the builder's office. Funnily enough, I just left the office, so that's all behind me for the week. And now it's on to podcast time. So welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is going to be about what we've been talking about. It's about qualifying trades, and we're going to go back to this again. You might be wondering why we're sort of covering this base a little bit more. And well, at the end of the day, this podcast is for homeowners and for them to be able to get the best out of their building project. And I'm really hoping that we can bring a little bit more information and shed a little bit more information about the industry and what's going to work to ensure that you do get the best out of your building project. So, yep, Friday afternoon, wear your funky Friday shirts and go for a walk, because work week's over. All the jobs are taken care of, and it's time to talk real stuff and pull out my list. And my list is going to be probably going to be a little bit offensive to trades. So today I don't really care, because I've been one of those trades that has that would get upset by what I'm about to say. So I'm just going to run with it, and I think that it just needs to be talked about. So here we go. So episode 19, how to qualify your trades and builders if you need to as well, because we all know that it doesn't matter who you are when you're in business, we all are going to be bound by the same rules. So we've all got to do the right thing as much as we possibly can. So when it comes to it, this is going to be hard for trades to handle, and this is why this podcast is not for trades. And one of those days when I wish that I wasn't walking down here with a lawnmower going next to me, but it's all part of the fun, since I am going for a walk after finishing work. But this is going to be difficult for trades to handle, and that's what this podcast is for. Trades are going to find this a little bit offensive, because really, I'm calling them out. I'm calling them out for their shit behaviour, the way that they behave with clients, and it's going to go into a lot of the dark area that a lot of people don't really want to sort of get into. And there's a lot of trades that spend a lot of time in this area. So I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper. Hey, how you going? So we're going to have a little bit of fun. So another thing on my little list here. So if you have ever engaged a business, how did they start, and how did they start communicating with you to start off with? As we know, they would have been asking a lot of questions. At least that's what they should have been doing. Asking a lot of questions, finding out more about you, finding out about what you're really needing from that business. And so you would know that when you go in somewhere, you're already knowing what products they sell, how they're going to do it, and then of course that business is going to know how to deliver that for you as best as possible. So that's where the qualifying the trades is really sort of going to come into it. So we're going to dive into this. So why wouldn't it be different if you're engaging a tradesperson or a builder? Because at the end of the day, it's your money that you're going to be handing over to them, and really any Tom, Dick and Harry off the street can come along and they can say that they've got all the experience in the world and they can do the job. And believe you me, I've seen plenty of them come along, and then they basically stuff everything up, and then they walk away never to be seen again, and no repercussions on poor workmanship, overcharging and under-delivering, all these sorts of fun little things. So why would you expect a tradesperson to be different from that? And really, a lot of people, they sort of expect trades are going to be shit and builders are going to be shit. So they factor that into the way that they behave as well. So they come across very hard and very gruff with how they do present themselves. So it can be it can be challenging to find this sort of thing out, but yeah. And look, I can relate to what I'm about to say because I'm currently looking for trade employees. Now, it's a little bit different to engaging just a tradie that's a business, but I'm finding it really interesting because while they're looking for security of having work and being able to get paid, they do this funny little thing where they say that all of their experience is on show on social media. It is on show on their, so it's on their social media, and they can provide photos of previous work. But when it comes to asking them about the people that they've worked for, whether it's clients, whether it's other tradies, whether it is builders, whether it is owner builders, all this sort of thing, they're very, very, very touchy on that. And so I've actually found this out a little bit more depth with engaging qualified guys to come and do carpentry work directly for my business. And look, it is what it is. I mean, these guys, they don't want to be, they don't want a lot of their, let's say, their history, what they consider to be private history, pulled apart, and with good reason. And it's because, like myself, there's been some checkered things that have happened in there, and I'll fully own it, because there have been things with builders when I was just on the tools, and things went pear-shaped, and I'll own everything that I did, because look, we all make mistakes, and those are the sorts of things that we are ultimately looking to find out, whether these people have made mistakes, whether they've learnt from it, and what things that they've put in place to be able to make sure that those sorts of things don't happen again. And so this is where qualifying the guys is going to involve getting a little bit more, giving them a little bit more of a challenging question and questioning what's going on. Like, if you've ever come to engage my business, you know that I send people to a questionnaire. And that questionnaire, it asks the fun little questions, and these go along the lines of starting off, basic stuff. Where are you up to in the process? Where is the house that you're looking at? What's your ultimate goal? The hardest one that people seem to try to skip over as much as possible is budget. Do you have a budget? Do you have finance arranged? All these sorts of things. But you should have questionnaires like that yourself, because you can engage a tradie, but without finding out, hey, what work have you done before? Because there's carpenters out there that specialise in only one type of thing, and that might be framing. And if you ask a framer to come and do a fix, you can almost guarantee that that is not going to be good. If you're asking for a bricklayer that only does bricks and hasn't done blocks before, especially core-filled blocks, then you could end up with a problem, because they could lay all the core-filled blocks in your house, and they could lay quite a number of them and then go to core fill it, and then you get blowouts. And believe you me, that's not a pretty sight. I've seen that happen a number of times. So these sorts of things can happen. So this is where it really comes down to, is nutting out exactly what you need. So if you need a carpenter and you need someone that's going to be a high detail finish carpenter, then they're going to be the ones that are going to be probably one of the hardest ones to find, because being able to find out what skills they actually have and how they can prove it is the next fun part, because you need to be able to see their previous work. And that's going to entail, okay, can we talk to a previous client, or can we talk to a previous owner of a house? Can we go and visit one of the places that you worked at? Where are you currently working? Can I go and visit where you're currently working at the moment, so I can see what you're doing and how you're performing, and the time periods that it takes you to get things done? Because really, at the end of the day, we're always going to be asking and running on a time period that is going to be critical. So these guys need to understand that, and a lot of them don't. They run on their own time schedule because it's their business, and how they run it is completely up to them. Put pressure on them, some fold, right? They fold very quickly. So yeah, we've got to be vigilant about how we go about this. So yeah, trades aren't going to like me today, and that's fine. So yeah, when it comes to it after that, right, how I love trades, yeah, well, how I love trades that like to show all of their handiwork on social media, and they don't want to hand over any information about, especially builders that they've worked for, because I'll call the builders and go, look, you had this guy working for you, how did you find him? Did you find him to be good? Did you find him to be bad? Did you find his quality of his work to be okay, substandard? What was it? And why isn't he working for you now? It's a really important question. Why aren't they doing any work for you now? And how long ago was the last time they did some work for you? A lot can change. And believe you me, if they're giving you somebody that is 3 years old, right, can almost guarantee that there's been something that's happened in the recent time that has soured relationships, and that's probably one of the issues. And that's why they are looking for work at the moment. So yeah, the good guys are hard to get, and sometimes you will be waiting, but they'll let you know. I don't mind waiting for the right trade, and I can schedule things so that it works for the business, for their business, and we're well in front. But mind you, I'm planning these things out 3 or 6 months in advance, because it's one of the things that we've learned from COVID is you need to be well in front of the 8 ball, knocking all the balls down beforehand. And one of the first things that we do is chase our trades and find out where they're at, what they're going to be doing, and how we can help them to get across the line to get the job done. And yeah, I know I've lost a few trades in the last 12 months, mainly because they couldn't handle the conditions that we were sort of setting out, because we did become a little bit more vigilant in vetting and qualifying our trades, and a lot of guys didn't pass. So yep, it's what's going to be happening, and this sort of thing needs to be happening more. And builders need to take responsibility for how things do go badly. So qualify your trades. One of the fun things, and I'll get into this one now, is contracts and dispute resolution. So it goes back to whether these guys have had issues, problems with clients not paying and things like this. There's always a story behind it, and now whether the story comes across and is accurate, different stories from different people. You really need to know both sides of the story. So when it comes to it, is knowing whether there's a contract needed. And I will say, yes, a contract is needed. Now, we work with purchase orders, and that is essentially a contract for our trades and suppliers to make sure that, one, we get what we're asking for. It sets out the terms and conditions of the engagement. And yes, I've lost many trades over the last 12 months because we cracked down on people not following the guidelines in the purchase orders. So these guys up and left because they didn't like it. And you have to be prepared for that as well, because you are asking for, okay, well, if the works are over $5,000, there needs to be a written contract. And that written contract, yeah, essentially, when it comes to it, it'll tell you whether these guys are legitimate or not as well. And if they just hand you a one-page letter or anything like that that just says, oh, well, it's 1 page, this is the work that we're going to do, that's the total sum, they don't do anything else, then you can end up in a world of pain because that contract's not worth the paper it's written on. So one thing you need to be looking out for and being vigilant when it comes to what you're getting yourself into. One of the other things that does get put onto those contracts as well, now whether it is that they get a copy of, what's it called, well, because I am in Victoria, this is different in other states. So New South Wales has the Office of Fair Trading, I believe it is. Victoria has the Victorian Consumer Watchdog, or Business Victoria, one of them. They have standard contracts, and these contracts are based off of Victorian construction law and Victorian domestic building contract law. And in there, it actually stipulates who's meant to be registered, who's meant to be the people doing the work and what engagement you can actually get to. Now, if these guys don't know this stuff, don't engage them, right? Even if you're desperate, don't engage them, because they need to be doing the right thing. And if the contracts aren't going to be ironclad and have the fun little bit, which is dispute resolution in there, then yeah, if anything goes wrong, if you feel like your trade is just taking you for a ride, then you can end up in litigation nightmare over money that you paid. And believe you me, I saw somebody, when was it? 2 years ago, during COVID. A builder had gone in to do a renovation on a bathroom, and this was a 2-page contract on a piece of paper like this, not even good. I think I've still got that piece of paper at home, actually. I've got a copy of that. And in that supposed contract, the sum was noted on there, and the fun part is how much the contract was, but also what the contract terms were for payments. Now, in the contract law, in the domestic building contract law, it stipulates what you can claim as deposits, what you can claim as progress payments, all these sorts of things. It's all specified in there, and you can look it up. It's all available online. It's all the Victorian legislation for it, so check it out, because it's good reading and it applies to nearly every single trade. As much as they'll say that it doesn't, it does. And yeah, this is how you find out whether these guys are going to be legitimate or not. So in there, this one particular builder, he put in there, what was it? I think it's a horror story. I think it was about a 30% deposit. And yeah, that is way outside the legal constraints of contract law, which says that if the works are valued under $20,000, the maximum deposit claimable is 10%. If the contract works are over $20,000, it's 5%. And then progress claims come after that, and they'll be percentages of the contract amount. Now, variations come into it, but we won't get into that. But this is where it left this particular client really freaking out, because this guy claimed a number of payments after signing the contract and beginning the work, failing while doing the work, and completely stuffing it up. And yeah, the owner sadly didn't have the money to cover it, because he did what was essentially a half job, and even then the workmanship was absolutely atrocious. Left the client and disappeared. These sorts of things happen because clearly I think he claimed about 80% of the contract value and left the place in ruins. And these are the sorts of things that happen, sadly. And this is where you need to make sure that the contract is legally is a legal contract. Which legal contracts, even the one from the Business Victoria or Consumer Affairs website, the standard one that comes out of domestic building contract legislation is, give or take, without going into the details section of it, is about 50 pages. And it goes through terms, glossaries, all these sorts of things, as a good contract should do, especially when it comes to building work. You need it. So yeah, that's where you can really get stitched up. And I don't want to see anybody get stitched up, so I'll give you the information freely, readily. So if you want more of this sort of thing, send me a line. Leave a comment underneath this video if you're watching it on YouTube, or comments, I think underneath all the podcast stuff on every podcast platform, there will be a link or an email address, and you can send an email to us. You can get in contact with me through my business at New Realm Homes, and happy to have a chat. And I've done reports for for the VBA and that sort of thing for incomplete work and people being overcharged. So definitely done all that. Uh-oh, what's going on with this now? Don't do that. Oh, gotta love that. Having a bit of fun. So, oh, it doesn't want to work. That's all right, we'll get it to work. All right, so yeah, happy to have a chat, happy to go through everything that that might be happening for you. And if any of this has resonated with anybody, give me a thumbs up, give me a tick, give me a follow, because at the end of the day, the more that I can put out there that's going to help people, the better the building industry is actually going to get. And that's really my end goal, is to get the building industry to be a better place, and a better place for every owner, because you guys are the ones that make it happen, and you should be getting the best. But I want to thank you for listening. Hope it's been informative. Give me the thumbs up, give me some likes, and subscribe. Do all the fun stuff, no matter what platform it's on. And I will see you next week. Now, next week, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about, but it's probably going to be a continuation of this and bashing trades, but it'll be fun no matter what we're doing. So hope you have a good one, and see you next week.